In Ready Math Lesson 13, we're still working with three-digit numbers now, but now we're going to practice adding them together. All right, so we looked at comparing them in our last lesson. Now we're going to actually add our three-digit numbers. And just like everything else we've done with three-digit numbers, we focus on the place value and breaking it apart into hundreds, tens, and ones. So let's look at this example from the Ready Math textbook. So it says there are 254 adults and 328 children helping to clean up their city. How many people are helping to clean up the city? So we're trying to find the total amount. There are adults and there are children. We're trying to put it together to find the total, or there's two parts, and we're finding the whole. So again, we might not always have base 10 blocks, but we can always do a quick draw if we need to see it visually. So let's see what we've drawn. They have 254 adults. So there's two hundreds blocks, 5 lines to represent the 50 or the 5 groups of 10, and 4 ones. And that is the number of adults. Then we have 328 children. So they've drawn 3 hundreds blocks, 2 tens sticks, and 8 ones. And now all we have to do to add them is to put them all together. So when I look at this, I can start by counting out just the hundreds. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 groups of 100, which we see right here. They've written it down. 5 groups of 100. All right, then I can look at the tens. So I've got 5 tens up here and 2 more tens, which gives me 7 tens. And then in my ones place, I had 8 and 4 for a total of 12. So those are the digits, but let's actually start talking again about the value of those digits. So I know 500s would be 500. I know that 7 tens would be 70. And then I know that in the ones, it's always just the same amount. All right, so 12. But here's the problem. Remember, we can only have one digit in the ones place. So that group of 10 has to come over here and join the other groups of 10. So I'm going to rewrite this again, 500. But now instead of 70, I'm going to have 80 because that group of 10 right here comes over to join the rest of the tens, and then we have a 2. So if I put that all together, 582 would be my answer for the number of people who are helping clean up the city. All right, so there we saw it with our blocks or our quick draw. We still have to think about the value of what those pictures were showing us. So over here, here's another way to do it, and this is using it in expanded form. Basically the same thing, but instead of the drawings, we're using the value of what those drawings represent. So I had 254, just like we drew over here, and 328, just like we drew right here. So we just split those numbers apart by a place value. And I could put a little H, T, and O to think about hundreds, tens, and ones. So then we're going to add up the values. So again, when I have 200 and 300, that's a total of 500. 50 and 20 is 70. And 4 and 8 is 12. We added those numbers up over here and looked at we added the digits and looked at the value. Well, those are the same values I had, but just like we did over here, that group of 10 can't stay in the ones place. So it's got to come over here and make this now make it 500 plus now 80 plus 2, or again, back to our number, 582. Now, one thing that we can do to help us to start to get a little bit better at this is to kind of, instead of looking at it out here where it's horizontal, to kind of look at it stacked up right here. And a method we might call or refer to as partial sums. So down here, I'm going to add each place value. So think about it still as our hundreds, tens, and ones. I can start with adding my ones together. So I know that 8 and 4 is going to be 12. And I found that by saying 8 plus 4. I'm going to write the little partial sums over here to the side. So 8 plus 4 gave me 12. And then I have 5 and 2 here in the tens place. So 5 groups of 10 and 2 groups of 10 is 7 groups of 10. But we're not talking about ones here. We're talking about groups of 10. So 50 and 20 actually should be 70. And then in my hundreds place, again, I have 2 groups of 100 and 3 groups of 100, which we've seen now several times is equal to 500. So we added together 200 and 300 to get that 500. So now I've got my values 500, 70, and 12, just like I did up here and just like I did over here. Now I'm going to add them all up, just like I've done all the other examples. But this time, instead of it being written out horizontally, it's written vertically. So I can look at all the numbers in my ones place, and I only have 2. I can look at all the numbers in my tens place. I have a 7 and a 1, so that's a total of 8 groups of 10. And then I only have that 5 in the hundreds place. So I still have my answer of 582. We saw all of that up here in these other 2 examples, but here we're starting to stack it up vertically instead of looking at it horizontally.